Hello, I'm just going to come out and say it. I love lamp. I like my house full of lamps. I even like making lamps, and that's what I'm going to do today. I've got an idea for a lamp, and it needs 3 bits of wood. I've got 2 bits, they're rough sawn, so the first job is to get these planed down. With those planed down, I've still only got 2 bits of wood. So now I'm going to get the table saw set up and I can rip that longer piece down into maybe 4 bits. With the 3 bits cut, now I want to add an angle to them. So I've laid them out and I think I want a 15-degree angle. So I can get the miter saw set up and tilt it over to 15 degrees and cut the base. Got the angles cut on this. Now I want to attach this bit to the back and I would like to insert it in there. So I'm going to mark out where it needs to go. To cut it out, I'm going to use the table saw. So I'm going to raise the blade to the height of the bit of wood that's going to go in there. I've got a simple jig, it's just 3 bits of wood and that just slips over the fence and runs on that. Now I can get the bit of wood I want to cut clamped onto this jig. I've got this clamped on and lined up with the first line. Now I can just keep pushing it through, nibbling away until I've got it cut. With this attached to the base, I now need to get this other piece on. And how I'm going to do it is using a half lap joint at the same 15-degree angle. So I'm going to get that marked out, then I'm going to swap out the blade of my table saw to a flat tooth grooving one. I can then get the miter gauge out, get that set to 15 degrees, and start nibbling away, creating these half laps. These cross over nicely now, but the angles are wrong and the bits are a bit too long. So I need to trim this off at 15, trim this off at 15, trim this off at 15, and the bottom. So I'm going to do all that on the miter saw. I'm not quite at that stage yet of actually wiring it, but I've got this red braided cable. And if you look at my plan, my very detailed plan, I'm going to weave the cable in and out of the wood. So I need some holes in it. I've worked out how many I need to drill, and that's going to be 9. Now, I could just drill holes and thread the cable through, but I think what would be nicer is to line the holes with some brass. I've got some 10mm brass tubing, so I need to cut 9 pieces down. That's 1 down, now another 8 to go. So while I get on with this, let me tell you about today's sponsor of the video, and that's Readly. As you might have worked out, I love woodworking, but I have other interests too. I'm not just one-dimensional, and that's why I love using Readly. So there's a huge amount of reading material available you can see on the home page, but there's a browse function. You can go through the categories. I've gone through them all and added the few things I'm really interested to my favourites. There's lots of woodworking and making magazines on there, so I've been having a good flick through those, and they've got the full back catalogue, so I can check them all out through the years. But I've been looking at other things, interior design being a big one, but also crafting and photography. Now, I've definitely fallen into the trap before of just reading woodworking magazines, and they're great for articles about tools and how-to and tips and all that kind of woodworking stuff, but for actual design inspiration, design magazines, interior design magazines, household magazines, I think are much more useful. And for this project, I had a very pleasant evening laying on the sofa, flicking through loads of these magazines, coming up with ideas. So I browsed through magazines, but I could have just searched. I could have just typed in lamp and it would have brought up every page that has lamps on. And that would have been great, but I didn't want just to copy other people's design. I wanted to just come up with some inspiration. So that's why I had a look through the magazines. And I found a few things. In the Crafts magazine, I found this just nice bit of wood and it had nice warm colours. And that's why I decided I was going to use oak for my build. Then in Beautiful Homes magazine, I like these brass lights, and you can see the wooden stools there, and I think they go together well. So I thought I want to incorporate brass into mine. Then the last thing I found was in kitchens, bedrooms and bathrooms. And again, there was just a bit of brass, and next to it was the colour. And I just liked the red, or it's kind of an orangey red, but I thought I'm going to go a bright red and have a pop of colour in mine. You've kind of seen the cable, and that's the next job to do that. So it was 3 different magazines that I probably wouldn't have picked up in a shop, but I had access to, and that was just great for inspiration. As I was flicking through and finding articles I liked, I could bookmark them. So I bookmarked all those bits for the lamp, but I came across a few other things of interest as well, so I've saved them. Now, if I just tap on my bookmarks tab, I can find all those articles ready for when I need them for future builds. Now, another nice feature and advantage of this being digital is the fact that you can zoom in. So when I find something interesting, I can just pinch and zoom and get a better look at it. I've enjoyed having a flick through all these titles, great for inspiration for projects and learning things for all the hobbies that I'm interested in. You can also add other profiles to this. So if everyone in your house is not as interested in woodworking as you are, you can add profiles so they can read different things. Now, if you'd like to try everything Readly has to offer free for 2 months, there's a link down below, free to cancel anytime. So thank you to sponsoring the video, Readly, and now let's go back to adding that pop of red to this build. I have all the bits cut. Now I need to mark out where I need to get these drilled. I've got set up in the drill a sacrificial bit of wood and a fence. Now I just need to drill through on all my marks. These bits of brass should fit in nice and snugly, but I'm going to get a dab of super glue into each hole and then get them hammered into place. I'm just going to leave these all to dry and then I can sand them all back. Brass is pretty soft, so just the random orbital sander should be fine to do it. Time now to get it all put together, so I'm just going to get some PVA wood glue, put it in the joints, get the bits put together, clamped up, and just leave it all to dry. The glue is dry on this now, but I might have got a bit ahead of myself because there was one thing I wanted to do before gluing it up, and that was to get a countersinking bit and just countersink these brass tubes. So I'm going to do that now. I don't think I've forgotten any more things I wanted to do to this, so now I can get some finish on, and I'm going for some beeswax oil. I'm going to build up the coats as per the manufacturer's instructions, and then we'll come back and get this wired. The finish is all nice and dry on this, so it's time to get it wired up. Now, I'm not going to show you in detail how I wire it because I'm no electrician. First thing I'm going to do is get the bulb holder on. Now I will put links down below to all these components I'm using. The bulb holder's on, now I'll start threading the cable through. I've got way more cable than I need, but I don't really want to cut it yet. I want to get it so I'm happy with how the bulb holder hangs, get it how all the loops look good, and then I'm going to trim it. I think I'm going to leave roughly a couple of meters of flex on it, then I can get a plug put on. I have a nice smoked LED kind of filament decorative bulb to go in here. Now get it plugged into a power pack and see if it works. Well, that needs investigating. So I bought these black plastic plugs to make this, and they came with 13 amp fuses, but because this is a lamp I wanted to swap it out to a 3 amp, which I did, but the fuse was no good. I should be more careful when I put things away and not to put blown fuses away. That's better. That's it all done. Really pleased with how it turned out. So now I can sit down, cup of tea, magazine, and come up with some ideas for my next project. So thank you for Readly for sponsoring the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.